Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. They fold themselves into the quiet corners of the world, whispering patient secrets only the stillest air remembers. Our story tonight begins in such a place, not grand or imposing, but forgotten. A house where the dust motes dance like lonely ghosts in the slivers of light, and the silence is a heavy blanket pulled tight over everything. You are here now, drawn by a feeling you can't name, a faint magnetic pull towards the stillness that hangs thicker here than anywhere else. This is where the first anomaly occurs, almost too subtle to register, yet impossible to fully dismiss. It's a sound that isn't a sound, a presence that evaporates the moment you turn your head. It plants the first seed of doubt, the initial tremor of unease that questions the solid reality you thought you knew. Your mind seeks logic, dismissing it as simply the old house settling, the wind in the eaves, the phantom echo of your own breath in the profound quiet. But a cold certainty takes root. The silence that follows feels wrong, deeper, listening. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. You stand in the parlor, the air thick with the scent of disuse, and something else. Something like cold metal and old rain. The quiet here is absolute. A palpable pressure against your eardrums. Dust motes drift lazily in the single shaft of sun, slanting through a grimy windowpane, highlighting the room's forgotten decay. It is in this intense, almost painful silence that it happens. Not loud, not distinct, but a textural impression more than an auditory one. A single, faint whisper. It skates along the very edge of hearing, like silk tearing slowly in the next room, or dry leaves skittering just out of sight. It holds no discernible words, only the essence of a voice, thin and strained, like static on a dead radio frequency. You freeze, every muscle tense. Your breath hitches, held tight in your chest. You strain to hear it again, turning your head slowly, scanning the empty room. The silence rushes back in, deeper than before, filling the void the sound momentarily occupied. It presses in, heavy and watchful. It feels like the air itself is holding its breath. You shake your head, attempting to dislodge the sensation. Auditory fatigue, you tell yourself, or perhaps the house settling. Old houses make noises. It's natural. This dismissal is a small, frantic dam against a rising tide of unease. Your heart rate quickens slightly, a tiny, frantic drumbeat against the oppressive stillness. You feel a sudden, intense isolation, as if the world outside has ceased to exist. The faint whisper is gone, but the memory of its texture lingers, a cold prickling on your skin. It leaves behind not just silence, but an absence of sound, a void that feels unnatural, as if something has just been pulled away from the air, leaving a hollow space that watches. The stillness that follows feels different, too profound, somehow aware. You try to rationalize, to find a logical explanation, but the feeling persists. The quiet is not just quiet, it is listening. And the whisper, though gone, has left an echo not in your ears, but in your mind, a faint, persistent hum like distant, detuned static. The feeling lingers, the oppressive quiet pressing in. You move from the parlor, trying to break the spell of the silence. Your footsteps are loud, startlingly so, on the dusty floorboards. Each creak echoes in the unnatural stillness, a rude intrusion. You walk towards the staircase, drawn perhaps by a vague sense that the sound came from above, or maybe just a need to explore, to disprove the unsettling feeling. The banister feels cool and smooth beneath your fingers, despite the stale air. As you reach the foot of the stairs, the oppressive quiet deepens further, wrapping around you like a shroud. The air grows colder, carrying a faint metallic tang, like old blood mixed with rust. Halfway up the stairs, you hear it again. Not the whisper this time, but a distinct click, sharp, sudden, and undeniably mechanical. It sounds like a lock turning or a key sliding into a tumbler's. It comes from behind a door on the landing, a door you hadn't noticed before, plain and dark against the faded wallpaper. You stop dead, your hand gripping the banister so tightly your knuckles ache. This is harder to dismiss than the whisper. This is a definite sound in a house that should be empty and still. Your rational mind scrambles, grasping for explanations. The wind, trapped air, perhaps a loose fitting somewhere. But the sound was too clear, too deliberate. A fresh wave of fear washes over you, cold and sharp, tightening your chest. Doubt begins to erode the edges of your composure. Is someone else here? Or is it something worse? The click echoes slightly in the absolute quiet that rushes back after it. It is answered only by the low, persistent hum of static in your own ears, a sound that feels inexplicably linked to the unnatural stillness around you. You stare at the plain door on the landing, and the click seems to hang in the air before it, a tangible question mark. It feels as though a door you didn't know existed has just been unlocked, and the silence waits for you to push it open. The click hangs in the air, a resonant, sharp punctuation mark in the heavy silence. You stand frozen on the stair, staring at the plain, dark door on the landing. Every instinct screams at you to turn back, to flee this place and its unnatural quiet. But another part, a small, persistent curiosity laced with dread, compels you forward. Slowly, deliberately, you ascend the remaining steps. The air grows noticeably colder the closer you get to the landing, carrying that strange metallic tang. The silence here is different again. It feels expectant, holding its breath just beyond the threshold of the door. You reach the landing. The door is unremarkable, painted a dark, almost black shade that seems to absorb the scant light. There is no handle, only an old-fashioned keyhole, dark and vacant. You expected perhaps a bolt sliding back, but the click was instantaneous. Not a drawn-out rasp. It sounded like a mechanism engaging, ready. You press your ear tentatively against the cool wood. Nothing. Only the deep, waiting silence and the faint internal sound of static that now seems a constant companion. A tremor runs through you, a deep-seated fear that goes beyond simple trespassing. This house doesn't feel merely abandoned. It feels inhabited, but not by anything living. The psychological fracture deepens from unease to a creeping sense of being utterly exposed, observed. The plain door feels less like an architectural feature and more like a threshold, a point of no return. You trace the outline of the keyhole with a trembling finger. It is just a shape, a void, yet it feels charged with potential. The quiet around you seems to lean in, urging you towards it, towards whatever lies beyond the click that sounded like an invitation or perhaps a warning. The static hum in your ears seems to intensify, a buzzing chorus to the silent tension of the landing. You pull back your hand from the door, the dark keyhole feeling strangely warm against your fingertip for a moment. The air on the landing feels thicker, colder, carrying that metallic tang. You turn, compelled by an instinct you can't explain, and look back down the stairs. The parlor is visible below, dim and filled with dust motes dancing in the distant sunbeam. And standing just inside the parlor doorway, where moments ago there was nothing but silence and light, is a doll. It is a child's doll, old-fashioned, perhaps porcelain, dressed in faded lace. Its eyes, dark and wide, seem fixed on you from the shadows. You didn't see it when you were in the parlor. Didn't see it when you looked back down the stairs from the foot of the landing. It simply is there now, a silent, unmoving sentinel. A wave of profound terror washes over you, cold and sickening. This is not a house settling, not the wind. Something impossible is happening. Your breath catches in your throat, a raw, ragged sound in the stifling quiet. The doll's presence feels like a deliberate act, a marker placed to show you that you are not alone and that the house is watching. It is a stark visual confirmation of the fear that has been building since the first whisper. The doll is a silent figure, but it speaks volumes in its impossible appearance. It stands perfectly still, its dark eyes unblinking, and the only sound is the rush of blood in your ears and the low, persistent hum of static, which now feels like the doll's own silent frequency. The question forms in your mind, chillingly clear. Was it always there, just unseen, or did it appear? The still air around you offers no answers, only that deep, listening quiet. The doll stands motionless in the parlor doorway below, its dark eyes seemingly fixed on you. You remain on the landing, caught between the impossible figure at the foot of the stairs and the dark, silent door with the empty keyhole behind you. The air on the landing is frigid now, sharp with the metallic tang, and the silence is no longer merely heavy. It feels predatory, waiting for your next move. You can't tear your gaze away from the doll. Its stillness is unnatural, its presence defying logic. It is more than just an object. It feels like an extension of the house's malevolence, a silent observer reporting back to some unseen entity. Slowly, cautiously, you descend the stairs, your eyes locked on the doll. It doesn't move. As you get closer, you notice the fine cracks in its porcelain face, like a delicate, unsettling smile. The faded lace dress seems almost to shimmer in the dim light. The static in your ears is a loud hiss now, almost drowning out the sound of your own ragged breathing. You reach the bottom step. The doll is only a few feet away. You can see the vacant depth in its painted eyes. You expect it to do something, move, speak, perhaps shatter. But it remains utterly still, a perfect, horrifying tableau. A new wave of psychological fracture hits you, not fear this time, but a profound sense of disorientation, of reality warping around you. The familiar world feels distant, replaced by the unsettling logic of this house. The doll's appearance, the click, the whisper. They aren't random events. They feel connected, part of a deliberate unveiling. You glance quickly back up the stairs, towards the dark door and the empty keyhole. Then back at the doll. It hasn't moved, but the sense of being watched is overwhelming, emanating from the doll, from the house, from the very air itself. The dark eyes seem to hold an ancient, patient knowledge. It is a silent question, perhaps directed at you. Do you see us now? And the static continues, a low, insistent thrum beneath the terrifying silence. Like a forgotten frequency calling out, you are standing before the doll now, its painted eyes level with your own. The air around it feels heavy, charged. The cold is a physical ache in your bones. The metallic tang is stronger, almost coppery. You reach out a trembling hand, drawn by a morbid fascination towards its porcelain face. Just as your fingertips brush the cool surface, the static in your ears erupts into a deafening roar, and the air around the doll shimmers like heat rising from asphalt or a faulty signal. The doll remains solid, but the space behind it seems to stretch and distort for a fleeting second, showing a glimpse of something else. Not the parlor wall, but darkness deep and ancient, filled with the frantic, broken echoes of countless whispers. It is a horrifying vision, lasting only an instant, like catching sight of a creature just before it ducks back into the shadows. The static cuts out as suddenly as it began, leaving behind a ringing silence that is more profound than any before. The doll is just a doll again, cracks in its face, faded lace. But the vision lingers, burned into your mind. A deep, shattering psychological fracture opens within you. It is no longer just fear. It is the terrifying certainty that the veil between worlds is thin here, and something is pressing through. The doll is not just a symbol now. It is a conduit, a silent witness to the house's true nature. You stumble back, away from the doll, away from the residual shimmer in the air. The house feels vast and unknowable, every shadow potentially hiding the edges of that dark glimpse. The silence rushes back in, but it feels different now. Not just listening, but knowing. The doll stands perfectly still, its eyes vacant, but you saw what lies behind the facade. You saw the static in the air, the broken whispers in the darkness, and you understand, with a certainty that chills you to your core. Some doors are not meant to be opened, and some silences are gateways. The static is gone, but the echo of its roar remains, a promise of fractured frequencies yet to come. And the doll simply waits. The air is still, cold, and silent. Heavier than ever before. The metallic tang lingers, a faint taste on your tongue. You back away from the doll, from the space where the air warped and the darkness momentarily bloomed. The house feels different now. Every shadow deepened, every corner watchful. The doll stands where it was, a silent sentinel, its painted eyes holding the blankness of porcelain, but reflecting the terror you now feel. The psychological residue is profound. A sense of unreality clings to everything, a chilling doubt about the solidity of the world. The whisper, the click, the doll, the static, the glimpse of darkness, they weave together into a tapestry of impossible events, leaving behind a tangled knot of unanswered questions. What was the whisper? What opened with the click? What is the doll? What did you see in the static-filled darkness? The silence offers no answers, only its deep, unwavering presence. The recurring motif of static feels less like a sound now, and more like the inherent instability of the house. A sign that reality here is fractured, buzzing with unseen frequencies. The doll is just a doll, yet its simple, still form now carries the weight of the horrifying glimpse you saw behind it. It is a quiet endpoint to a journey that has just begun within these walls, a marker of the moment you stepped beyond the familiar and into the eerie hour where logic breaks down. The house settles back into its profound quiet, but it is no longer the quiet of abandonment. It is the quiet of patience, of waiting. You stand there, caught in the aftermath, the events replaying in your mind like a broken loop of film. The feeling of being watched has not diminished. If anything, it has intensified, radiating from the doll, from the shadows, from the very walls around you. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. The stillness settles, a familiar weight in the air, but it feels different this time. It's no longer just the absence of noise. It's an active presence, listening. The whispers return, not as faint as before, but clearer, more insistent, like breath escaping stone. They seem to curl from the study, from the dark corner where the old velvet-covered armchair slumps by the empty fireplace. You stood there just moments ago, dismissing the first hint of unease. Now, the air around the chair feels colder, prickling against your skin, despite the room's general warmth. It's a sudden, unnatural chill, a cold spot that drifts and shifts like invisible mist. The whispers coalesce into fragmented sounds, broken phrases you can't quite grasp. Lost, here, find, or perhaps it was cross, fear, blind. They are nonsensical, disturbing, like radio static twisted into morbid poetry. You strain your ears, trying to isolate a word, a source, anything rational, but they dissolve as soon as you focus, leaving only the sound of your own heart hammering a frantic rhythm against your ribs. It's a drumbeat in the quiet, loud enough to surely mask any real sound, yet the whispers persist beneath it, insidious and persistent. This is more than just a trick of tired ears or an overactive imagination. The initial dismissal hardens into a knot of growing anxiety. You pace the room, eyes scanning the shadows, the furniture, searching for a logical cause, a draft, settling pipes, sounds from outside, but find nothing. A frustration boils beneath the fear. The inability to find a rational explanation is almost as unsettling as the phenomenon itself. Sleep becomes a distant, mocking concept. You lie awake later, the house groaning around you, every creak and sigh sounding like another breath held just out of sight. The stillness stretches, and the whispers seem to wait, keyed to these quiet hours, these moments of solitude. Walking past the study doorway, in the dim light of dawn, you notice something new. On the small polished table next to the velvet armchair, a thin layer of dust coats everything except for a single, clean circle about the size of a handprint. There was no one here, no window open. The stillness remembers, and it leaves its mark. You look at the circle, then at the silent armchair in the corner. Is it the silence that draws them out, or is it the silence that they bring? The hours bleed into days, marked only by the increasing weight beneath your eyes and the relentless hum in your periphery. Sleep offers no true escape, merely a shallow, twitching darkness punctuated by phantom echoes. Paranoia, sharp and cold, has become your constant companion, driving a desperate need to understand the source of the voices that cling to you. They started here, in this place. That much is certain. So the truth must lie buried here too. In the forgotten layers beneath the surface, you begin to search, not just listening anymore, but actively seeking answers in the tangible remnants of the past. This means the small, dusty, local historical society archives, the brittle files stashed in the attic, the old county records down at the courthouse. The air in these places is thick and still, carrying the musty scent of decay, Rotting paper, dry ink, trapped time. Your fingers, dry and rough, trace the delicate, almost powdery texture of documents that feel too fragile to exist outside of memory. Each turned page rustles in an unsettling silence, a sound that seems to amplify the whispers that continue, now weaving themselves into the quiet spaces around you. They are different now, less a formless murmur, more fragmented, specific. As your eyes scan faded handwritten entries or archaic legal text, a word will detach itself from the general drone. A name, a date, a place you are just reading or about to read. Sometimes it feels like they are simply repeating what you see. Other times, a fragment will come before you find the corresponding information, a cryptic hint nudging you toward a specific box or a particular file. Corner, beneath the stone, heroic, and then you find a note detailing a property line dispute involving a family named Heroic and a reference to a large, moss-covered stone marker at the edge of the woods. Is this coincidence, or are the whispers guiding you, feeding you information they don't want you to find conventionally, or perhaps information only they know? The line between research and hallucination begins to blur. You pore over hand-drawn maps, searching for landmarks, and swear you see symbols shimmer at the edges of your vision. A twisted knot, a stylized eye. These symbols, you notice with a creeping dread, appear again and again in different documents, etched into a family crest, described in a deed, drawn crudely in the margin of a church record, mentioned in a local legend about wards against ill fortune. They are becoming your recurring motif, a visual echo of the auditory whispers. Your mind, starved of rest and flooded with unsettling data, feels like a sieve, unable to hold on to solid ground. You find yourself staring at a sentence, unsure if you read it on the page or heard it whispered in your ear. Was this written here all along, or did I just see it? The question loops, unanswered, corrosive. Amidst a stack of correspondence from a long-vanished estate steward, you find it, a small, leather-bound journal, its pages warped and brittle. You handle it with immense care, the oppressive atmosphere of the archives seeming to press closer. Flipping through the spidery script, you find an entry marked simply Harvest Moon 1870. It reads, "The noises persist from the West Wing cellar, though no one is quartered there. A scratching, like branches on stone, but the windows are shuttered and barred tight. The air grows colder, even by the hearth. Master H grows agitated, speaks of dreams he cannot recall, but leave him chilled. Tonight I heard them too, just below my chamber, soft voices, like children singing a song with wrong words. I pressed my ear to the floorboards, felt the vibrations. It was no child. It was the old tongue, the one the locals fear. And I saw it then, on the damp wall by the stairs, though I swear it was not there moments before. The knot, fresh and dark as blood, though it gave off no scent. The journal entry feels like a direct address, the confirmation of the dread blooming in your chest. The knot symbol, the whispers, the cold, the sense of something ancient and wrong. The supernatural core of this place is not merely a haunting. It is deeply rooted, speaking in symbols and fragmented history. You look around the silent archive, the rows of dusty boxes suddenly feeling less like repositories of the past and more like tombs, holding something that is not dead, but waiting. The whispers intensify slightly, a collective sigh that seems to wrap around the fragile journal in your hands. The whispers are no longer distant static or fragmented impressions. They coil around you now, insidious and constant, a venomous tide lapping at the shores of your mind. They speak your name, not as an address, but as an accusation, drawn out and chilling, yours. They mimic your own inner voice, the one that narrates your thoughts, but twist it, lace it with dread. They share things only you could know, secrets buried deep, forgotten anxieties resurrected with chilling accuracy. You thought you hid that. The air thins, tasting of old metal and fear, and your own breath comes in ragged gasps, a frantic rhythm against the cool, encroaching silence. The horror has shed its veil of simple sound. It is a presence now, cold and undeniable, always just at the edge of sight. Shadows detach themselves from walls, not moving with the light, but with an independent, slithering intelligence. You feel the distinct, icy caress of something unseen brushing past, a phantom hand trailing along your spine, raising gooseflesh that does not fade. But it is the reflections that hold the deepest terror. Every polished surface, every pane of glass, every glimpse of your own image is a potential point of intrusion. You catch sight of yourself in the hallway mirror, a quick, involuntary glance, and freeze. For a fraction of a second, the face staring back is not yours. It is elongated, twisted into a rictus of silent agony, eyes hollowed and black. The room behind you in the reflection is wrong. The furniture is different, the walls bare, the light dim and sickly. A chilling current flows through you, the metallic tang on your tongue intensifying, choking you. When you blink, it is gone. Your face is your face, the room is the room, but the image lingers in your mind's eye, burned onto your retina. Doubt is a physical weight now, crushing you. Did you truly see it? Or is this the unraveling, the final snap? The whispers laugh, low and knowing, seeming to emanate from the very glass itself. They tell you the mirror shows the truth, the face you are becoming, the space you are entering. They suggest the horror is not outside, but reflected from within, amplified, turned against you. Paranoia tightens its grip, making you eye your own hands with suspicion, wondering if they are entirely your own, if they are controlled by the reflection. You cannot trust your sight, your memory, not even the sound of your own voice, which the whispers have stolen and corrupted. Is this what you wanted? The mirror seems to ask, its silent surface a rippling pool of dread, the boundary between self and other dissolving into a terrifying uncertainty. What parts of you are truly yours, and what belongs to the reflection that sometimes bears an impossible extra limb, a hand waving from behind your back? Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. The house sits on a low hill, overlooking nothing but tangled woods and a gray, indifferent sky. It seems less built than grown from the damp earth, its windows like blind eyes staring out from beneath heavy, water-stained eaves. You found it listed simply as unoccupied, a word that feels inadequate, almost dishonest. The moment you step past the rusted gate, the air inside is stagnant, thick with the scent of rot and something else, something cold and sharp, like static electricity before a storm. Dust motes dance in the weak shafts of light piercing the grimy glass. But even their movement feels deliberate, watched. You run a hand along a heavy mahogany banister, and a whisper, faint as a breath against your ear, answers. There's no one else here. The sound is fleeting, easily dismissed as the house settling, the wind catching a loose pane, the trick of an overtired mind. Yet, a prickle starts at the base of your neck, a seed of unease taking root in the quiet. You look towards a hallway lined with old, dark furniture, noticing that a large mirror at the far end is draped with a yellowed sheet, an oddity you didn't register upon entering. It adds to the strange silence, a reflection denied. Is the house already showing you what it prefers to hide? If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The faint sound doesn't fade this time. It returns, a murmur just beneath the threshold of hearing, a private wavelength only you seem tuned into. It's not just the house settling. It's persistent, like liquid dripping in a distant room or sand falling through an hourglass. You walk deeper inside, drawn by an invisible thread. The air grows colder the further you go, a bone-deep chill that has nothing to do with the lack of heating. It pools around you, heavy and dense, making each breath feel shallow. His pull is towards the rear of the house, down a long, narrow corridor that feels colder and darker than the rest. It smells distinctly of damp earth and something subtly sweet, like decaying flowers. Your mind races, attempting to rationalize the growing unease. It's just an old house, full of drafts and creaks, but the whispers feel different now. Less like sound effects and more like words forming at the edge of comprehension, a language you almost remember. They seem to guide you, nudging you towards a closed door at the corridor's end, a door painted a dark, faded red. An unnatural stillness hangs around it. As you approach, the covered mirror at the end of the main hall feels like it's staring at your back. You resist the urge to look, focusing instead on the red door, feeling a growing sense of obsession. The house remembers things you don't, whispering secrets it insists you uncover. Following the compulsion, you find the red door locked. Frustration flares, quickly followed by a strange, cold calm. The whispers grow slightly louder, fragmented sounds like key and beneath. Acting on instinct that feels alien yet familiar, you find an old, tarnished key hidden beneath a loose floorboard nearby, exactly where the sounds seem to point. Your hands tremble slightly as you insert it into the lock. The tumblers turn with a heavy, final click. The room inside is small, cluttered with forgotten objects, covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs that seem undisturbed for decades. Yet on a small, claw-footed desk sits a single, unbound journal, strangely clean, its pages slightly curled as if recently handled. It smells faintly of lavender and something sour. Opening it reveals spidery handwriting, filled with seemingly nonsensical phrases, geometric shapes, and names you don't recognize. The whispers now seem to come from the pages themselves, a rustling chorus of conflicting tones. One line stands out, stark and clear amidst the chaos. The reflection shows what the eye denies. You stare at the journal, doubt creeping in. Did you really hear key, or did your mind construct it? Is the house speaking to you, or through you, blurring the line between discovery and delusion? The distinction between internal and external shatters. The house is no longer subtly suggesting, it is demanding, Objects shift in your peripheral vision. A chair scraping the floor when no one is near. A curtain billowing without a draft. The air pressure fluctuates wildly, making your ears pop. A phantom weight pressing down on your chest. The whispers are relentless. A chattering chorus that surrounds you, originating from the walls, the floor, the very air you breathe. They no longer offer clues, but threats, fragmented warnings, and terrifying pronouncements. Sleep is impossible. Each attempt brings vivid, disturbing images and a return of the overwhelming sound. You find yourself pacing the narrow corridor leading to the red-doored room, drawn there repeatedly, unable to stay away. The scent of damp earth is stronger here now, almost overpowering, mingled with a sharp, metallic tang. Fear is a constant companion, a cold knot in your stomach, feeding the paranoia. You find yourself glancing at the covered mirror in the main hall, a dreadful fascination pulling at you. The sheet seems to ripple slightly, though the air is still. You know, with a terrifying certainty, that something is behind it, waiting, watching your descent. The walls here have ears and perhaps mouths. Driven by the chaotic chorus and the overwhelming pull, your feet carry you, almost against your will, back to the red-doored room. The whispers are deafening now, a cacophony of voices screaming contradicting truths and demands. The air inside is an unnatural, the biting cold that sinks into your bones, accompanied by an oppressive pressure that feels like standing at the bottom of a deep ocean trench. Visual distortions warp the corners of your sight. The walls seem to breathe, the shadows writhe, the very dust motes hanging in the air coalesce into indistinct, fleeting shapes. A phantom touch, ice-cold and skeletal, brushes against your arm, sending a jolt of pure terror through you. The soundscape is a disorienting nightmare, the whispers merging into a single, monstrous roar that fills your skull, drowning out thought. And then amidst the noise, the truth slams into you with the force of a physical blow. It's not just the house that is haunted. You are. The history, the whispers, the entity, they are not external invaders, but are inextricably linked to your own past, perhaps even your very identity. You are the vessel, the key, the echo chamber. The terror is absolute, crushing, leaving no room for thought, only the agonizing realization that escape is impossible. The source of the whispers is here, inside the room, inside you, reflected in the terrified eyes staring back from a surface you didn't realize was there. The mirror from the main hall, somehow placed here, its sheet now fallen away. You are not just hearing the house. You are the house. The final whisper, sharp and clear above the din, seals your fate, revealing the sacrifice already made, the connection that can never be broken. The overwhelming sensory assault recedes, leaving behind a profound, unnatural silence. The echoes of screams, your own or others, seem to linger in the air, but they are faint now, ghosts of a recent storm. The cold remains, a persistent, internal chill that no amount of warmth can dispel. You stand in the red-doored room, spent, hollowed out, feeling less like a person and more like a tuning fork still vibrating from a terrible strike. The truth revealed by the whispers hangs in the air, a palpable weight, understood on a level deeper than conscious thought. It has changed the structure of reality, redefined your past, and cemented your future within these walls. There are no answers left to seek, only the residue of the experience, the lingering pressure in your chest, the phantom touches that sometimes return, the way shadows seem to cling to you, even in bright light. The journal lies closed on the desk, its secrets now your own, the terrible truth bound within its pages and your mind. You look at the mirror, still leaning against the far wall. It reflects the room, the dust, the emptiness, and your face. Its gaze holds a knowing quality it didn't before. The truth wasn't a key, but a lock, sealing you inside something you can never leave. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The old house stands at the edge of the woods, a silhouette against a perpetually gray sky. It sits heavy on its foundation, seeming to exhale the scent of damp earth and forgotten things. You acquire it, perhaps inheriting it, perhaps seeking refuge, and step inside, and the air is immediately thick with the weight of silence. Dust motes dance in the single shaft of light that pierces the grime-streaked window of the foyer, illuminating nothing but absence. There is a stillness here that feels less like quiet and more like held breath. The house doesn't just feel empty, it feels paused. You walk deeper, the floorboards groaning underfoot like protesting bones. In the corner of the living room, a radio sits on a dust-sheeted table, its dial dark, its surface coated in years of neglect. You notice a faint, high-pitched hiss that seems to emanate from it, even unplugged. It's not quite static, not quite silence. It's something else. You dismiss it as the sound of your own nerves, amplified by the oppressive quiet. A sense of being watched prickles the back of your neck, and you turn sharply, finding nothing but the shadowed corners and the heavy, still air. It's just the house, you tell yourself. Old houses make noises, play tricks on the eyes. Perhaps the house simply breathes differently. But later, in the absolute black of the first night, you hear it. Faint, ephemeral, like paper fluttering against glass in another room, just at the edge of hearing. A whisper. It's gone as soon as you acknowledge it, leaving behind a silence that now feels expectant. The whispers return, not as a single fleeting sound, but as a persistent, low hum that seems to vibrate within the very walls. They are indistinct, overlapping, like dozens of voices speaking at once just beyond a closed door. You strain to understand, pressing your ear against the cool, damp plaster. But they remain maddeningly, just outside the realm of language. They seem to shift location, now in the wall beside you, now overhead in the crawl space, now seemingly emanating from the empty hallway. The house feels colder now. The chill, not just from lack of heating, but from a palpable presence. You notice the rhythmic sound of dripping water, a constant, maddening plink, plink, plink from somewhere deep within the structure, though you can find no leak. The radio in the living room sometimes emits that strange, non-static hiss even more loudly, and you begin to see faint visual snow, like interference, at the edges of your vision, especially when the whispers are strongest. Sleep is becoming a luxury you can no longer afford. Every shadow seems deeper. Every creak of the house sounds like footsteps. You check the locks repeatedly, convinced someone must have gotten inside. The paranoia is a physical weight in your chest. Who is here? What are they saying? Are they even here at all, or is this decay seeping into your mind? What if the sounds aren't coming from the house, but are the house? You press your hands over your ears, but the whispers seem to only grow louder, pushing in. They sound agitated now, perhaps in response to your fear. The agitation in the whispers escalates. They are no longer just ambient noise. They are sharper, more insistent. Sometimes, a single word breaks through the cacophony, and terrifyingly, it is your name, spoken in a voice that is not one voice, but many, shifting and layered. The static hiss from the radio seems to have spread, clinging to the air like fine dust. You see the visual snow more clearly now, a curtain of interference that makes the world feel unstable. Objects in rooms you have just left are subtly rearranged, a chair turned slightly, a book fallen open on the floor, seemingly in response to the whispers you heard moments before. A door that was firmly shut is now ajar, revealing nothing but the empty darkness beyond. There is a new smell in the house, too, sour and metallic, like old blood or rust, thickest when the whispers are loudest. You trace the dripping sound, convinced it's tied to the voices, but it remains frustratingly elusive, always just beyond reach. The fear has given way to a frantic obsession to understand. You spend hours trying to transcribe the whispers, filling notebooks with meaningless scribbles and fragmented phrases that dissolve the moment you write them down. You lose track of time, whole afternoons vanishing in the hunt for a source, for meaning. You look in the mirror, and for a second, your reflection doesn't match your movement, frozen for a beat, a flicker of static obscuring its face. Memory is fragmenting, unreliable. Are they telling you something? Or are they becoming you? One night, standing in the silent hallway, a single whisper rings out, loud and clear, right beside your ear. It says nothing you can understand. But the sound itself feels like a physical blow, shattering something inside you. The loud whisper was a breaking point. Time has become a fluid, unreliable concept. Days blur into nights, and you are unsure how long you have been in the house. The whispers are everywhere now, overwhelming the senses. They are not just heard, they are felt. A brush against your arm when no one is there, a cold pressure on your shoulder, a phantom breath on the back of your neck that is nothing but whispered sound. The static is a constant scream in your ears, a blinding blizzard in your vision. It fills the rooms, a vibrating presence that makes the very air feel thick and heavy. Objects move violently now, not subtly. Doors slam shut with terrifying force. Furniture scrapes across the floor. Things shatter against walls as if thrown by invisible hands, all accompanied by the roar of whispers and static. You look in the mirror, and sometimes your reflection is a distorted mess of gray noise, or it looks back at you with eyes that are not your own. Filled with an ancient, cold knowledge, you find yourself in rooms you don't remember entering, having lost hours to the chaos. You are no longer in control of your own movements sometimes, your body feeling distant, piloted by a will that is not yours. The pervasive chill is absolute, seeping into your bones, a coldness that feels less like temperature and more like the absence of life. Your own breathing sounds ragged and alien in the maelstrom of sound and sensation. Perhaps you were never truly alone here, only waiting to be noticed. And then, As abruptly as it began, it stops. The whispers cease. The static vanishes. The house falls utterly silent. The silence that follows is not peace. It is a profound, terrifying vacuum. The absence of the whispers is louder than any sound they made. The house is still, inert, but the stillness feels wrong, watchful. The objects that were thrown are still scattered. The shattered glass on the floor reflects the now dim light like scattered teeth, stark evidence of the preceding chaos. Yet the house itself seems to hold its breath. Waiting, you listen intently, straining your ears for any trace of the voices, the static, the dripping, the cold touch. But there is nothing, only a deep, heavy quiet that presses in from all sides. The silence feels like a new form of static, a formless, oppressive background noise of wrongness. But the sensations linger. You feel phantom touches on your skin, the ghost of a whisper near your ear that you know is not there, but feels as real as anything you have ever experienced. Sunlight, when it enters the room, feels alien and cold, failing to warm the pervasive chill that remains in the air. Sleep is impossible, now born not of fear of the sounds, but of the dread of the silence and what it implies. You pace the empty rooms, your own footsteps echoing unnaturally loudly. Paranoia is a constant companion, a cold knot in your stomach. Is it truly over? Or has it simply changed forms? You scan the empty corners, the still air, the surface of the quiet radio. The horror is gone, but the listening remains. The silence is not an ending, but merely a deeper form of listening. You realize with a sickening certainty that the whispers may not have left the house at all. They might have simply moved inside you. The whispers are gone. The house is silent, a hollow shell echoing with the memory of sound. The immediate, overwhelming terror has subsided, replaced by a quiet, pervasive dread. The world outside feels distant, muted. Inside, the quiet is absolute, but it is not empty. The silence itself is the scar tissue of the noise, a constant reminder of what was and what remains. You walk the rooms, and the stillness is a physical weight pressing down. There are no more thrown objects, no slamming doors, but the chaos has left its mark on you. Sleep is a distant memory. Chronic insomnia is your new normal, your mind replaying fragmented images and phantom sounds in the dark. Memory is a broken mirror, pieced together with gaps where sanity used to be. You question everything, the reality of the events, the state of your own mind. Was it the house, or did the house merely unlock something already present? You scan the empty corners, jump at the slightest sound, your body perpetually tense, waiting for the return of the whispers that may now reside within you. The static is gone, but the internal noise of trauma, the echo of the whispers in the silence, is a constant hum beneath your thoughts. The memory of the sound is more potent now than the sound itself, a permanent psychological wound. You are left haunted, broken, a prisoner in a quiet house that holds your past and a body that holds its echoes. The single whisper stole your sleep and left you forever changed, forever listening to the silence. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet.